Welcome back to the #1 Bigfoot show on the net. This week, Reverend Jeff is off to Park County, Colorado for more official Bigfoot sightings from the smokiest state in the Union. And no, that isn't from the forest fires. Anyways, along with more news of the week, a brand new quasi-theory from Dean Cooper, and an all-new camping tip for stupids from Jevin Moore. All that and more. Lounge Podcast. And here's your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Yay! There was supposed to be applause here. It's coming. Nothing but professionalism right here at the #1 Bigfoot webcast on YouTube. Welcome back, everybody, to the Squatchers Lounge Podcast. I am indeed your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly. I can look at the menu, but I just can't eat. That's right. I'm the fastest runner, but I'm not allowed to win. Welcome to the Squatchers Lounge Podcast, the season of encounters. And boy, 41 episodes later, and there is still no signs of slowing down. Colorado is the place we're going to tonight. Park County, to be exact, one of the hot spots, just lower than the last Colorado one we did from I-70. Our friend Rodney Dupree is a Colorado resident out there, and he's a Bigfoot hunter, so we're really hoping that maybe he'll have some insight in some of the places we're talking about tonight. As we start off the show, each and every week, we start off talking about what I call news. So let's see what was out there this week. We're going to start out with kind of a sad one. Male chimpanzee seen snatching seconds-old chimpanzee and then eating it. Say what? It's very rare to see chimpanzees give birth because the females usually wander off and then come back when the baby's viable a few months later. Apparently, this one did not, and it came to a grisly conclusion. Within seconds of birth, the baby was snatched away and eaten by a male of the same group. The observation explains why female chimpanzees tend to go into hiding for weeks or months when they have their little ones. Little is known about the chimpanzees give birth in a while because of the 5 births that have ever been observed, says some Japanese lady. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Nishi and his colleagues have been studying chimpanzees in Tanzania's Mahali Mountains for the last few years. Yeah, it's a thing that primates do. Like, if it's not their baby, they'll snatch and kill it because they want to make sure that their genes carry on, whether they're the alpha and the omega or not, as they say. Kind of creepy that they actually got to see this happen. They're like, oh yeah, look, oh, she's gonna give birth in front of us. They're like, yes, here comes the, oh shit, no, what? Oh, the inhumanity, the chimpanzeeism. I don't know how that would work. Sorry, don't make light of a really weird situation. It's the only way I can get through it. Vibe science. Hey, your hair color, sleep habits may come from Neanderthals. A lot of our genes are being deciphered and figured out where they're coming from along our DNA core. And those of you who have Neanderthal DNA, it may actually influence your skin tone, hair color, sleep patterns, mood, and even behavior. Oh, so it's not my fault that I'm friggin' addicted to nicotine. It's not big tobacco's fault. It's the Neanderthals' fault. The findings shed lights on a whole role the Neanderthal genetic variants play in modern human biology, in addition to disease, the researchers said. Neanderthals, the closest extinct relative of modern humans, died off in Europe about 40,000 years ago. Researchers over the past decades have revealed that Neanderthals interbred with the ancestors of modern humans who migrated out of Africa, or Dean would like us to have believed. Currently, scientists find that the genomes of modern human groups that originated outside of Africa hold between 1.8 and 2.6% Neanderthal DNA. Interesting stuff. As these things get decoded, you're going to find out that, yes, indeed, you are 11% banana. If you don't believe me, look it up. You're 11% banana. I'm not joking. When I found that out, I freaked. Hey, We Are Explorers, neat page. How to poo in the bush. Yeah, the look on that dude's face. Well, look, if my poo gets a face and finger bangs back at me, finger bang, bang, finger bang, bang. Yeah, that's right. I said finger bang. And what kind of toilet paper's homeboy got? Is that made out of like plywood? I don't know if I want to go camping with Jack, but it really does have a decent plan for what you got to do if you got to poo in the woods. I was talking to some of the hikers like Huck Outdoors and the Faro Channel. Those guys are like, when you climb Mount Whitney, you're not allowed to leave poo behind. They give you a bag and you have to like pack your poo back down. Now I'm all for packing it in, packing it out when I can put it in 3 or 4 garbage bags in the back of my car and take it down to a dumpster, a few miles away and drop it in the can. But when you got to pack it out in your pack, damn. Anyhow, their page at weareexplorers.co. There's a bunch of neat stuff up there. Take a look. Arizona man spots Bigfoot in the Mongol Rim. The late, great, now I'm going to forget his name. Oh, my goodness. He was a big researcher in the Mongol Rim. People gave him a lot of crap, but that dude was out there putting in the miles. This area's probably got something. It's hard for me to put a primate in this type of a arid environment, this deserty, foresty. But just like anything else, it wasn't always like that. And these are probably like populations that have been cut off from moving out through yonder. Who knows? But they're out there, they say. The Coconut National Forest. Pardon me. Don't want to blow your eardrums out. Sneeze, cough, sneeze button. I don't have one of those. I need to get one. The eyewitnesses claim he was camping at a U.S. forestry campground in the Mongol Rim area when he spotted the alleged beast. I had finished reading a book when I noticed across the campground, and I noticed a very fast-moving dark figure heading from north to south, he said about June 26th encounter. The man goes on to say that he initially believed the figure was a large kid on a bicycle. But it was moving too fast. Well, a large kid on a bicycle can move pretty quick. Then he explains he realized that what he was looking at was something unusual. It was a very large Bigfoot. It only lasted about 3 seconds, but I was lucky enough to see it. Isn't that the chance? When you do finally get to see one, they last just seconds. Speaking of things that only last seconds, there is the... Thanks you, Sir Google, for giving me a white page for people again. You're wonderful. Delaware Nation Annual. Annual. I am not Dumb and Dumber, okay? Bigfoot Storytelling Festival, fact or fiction. That's right. That is coming this weekend, Friday, October 20th, 2017, from 3 to 7 at Randlett Park. Craft vendors, costume contest, food trucks, yummy kids zone, Bigfoot souvenirs, and a Bigfoot calling contest. And Troy Hudson, a speaker. Sure. Native Oklahoma Bigfoot Research Organization. So, yay, if you guys are out there in Delaware. It is at Randlett Park. Go check it out for yourself. And another one here. Bluegrass Bigfoot. Are you a believer? That's right. The great Charlie Raymond of the Kentucky Bigfoot Researchers Organization is going to explore the latest evidence and hear eyewitness testimonies in the case for the Bluegrass Bigfoot tomorrow, 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Lebanon Junction, and then Saturday the 21st from 5:30 to 7 at Mount Washington. It is all ages. I guess I have no idea how you contact these people. It doesn't have any type of contact information on it, so I guess you just show up. It says registration is required. A select number of registrations. There's a phone. Interested, let me know and I'll get you the information, but I'm sure if you Google, it'll probably pop up too. That, my friends, is what is in the news. This time of year, everybody gets to talking about that famous thing that happened in 1964. No, I don't have my years wrong. 1964, it was the flood. The flood that happened in Bluff Creek. That's what actually set up everything that went on over October 20th in 1967. This year again, now they've had some major fires in that same Bluff Creek area that has driven animals and moved animals from one location to another and leaving viable locations unviable, which is going to make more dominant animals move into more placid animals locations and may actually stir up some Bigfoot activity. This weekend is the Bluff Creek 50th anniversary. I do believe that there are some tickets still left for the Saturday event in Eureka. They're charging like $50 a head to get into it. Bob Gimlin will be there. The Meldrum will be there. Bobo will be there. Cliff will be there. There's a bunch of speakers and stuff that's going to go on through the night. Bob Gimlin has actually said recently that this may indeed be his very last trip to Northern California. So, you know, if you go up there, take lots of pictures, post them on Facebook, take some videos, whatever the case, call me on the phone. We can do some interviews, whatever you'd like to do. But that's this weekend coming up in Eureka as well. If you call up the Bigfoot bookstore, God, I hate giving out that information, but that's who's going to have all the information in it there in Willow Creek. You can call Bigfoot Books and bother the man that runs that store, and I'm sure he can help you get in on Saturday. Tell him that Reverend Jeff sent you. I'm sure he'll absolutely love that. And with that, you know what? That, my friends, is indeed the news. And after the news, it's time for a brand new Quasi Theory. That's right. Dean Cooper, the Bionic Man, as we call him now. We can rebuild him. We can make him stronger. We can make him faster, except for his good side's gimped. And now that's his problem. Anyhow, Dean Cooper is back with another Quasi Theory, and he is going to share it with us right now. So sit back and listen. Clear your mind and experience it. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Teleportation. Back in July, Chinese physicists announced that they had achieved teleportation from the Earth to a satellite. In August, Chinese physicists announced that they had achieved teleportation through 3.3 meters of seawater. These announcements have inevitably led to the wrong conclusions, especially among those who did not notice that what was achieved was quantum teleportation, which does not involve actually teleporting anything physical. Their experiment used quantum entangled photons. I think that physicists should pick a different name for this, maybe call it quantum telecommunications, to prevent the overheating of the minds of all the Trekkies in the world. It is highly unlikely that quantum teleportation can be adapted to get you to work on time, let alone back up to the Enterprise. The earliest use that I can find of the word teleport is in the Capricornian, a newspaper from Rockhampton, Queensland, Australia, dated Saturday, 29th, 1878, in an article on page 14 entitled The Latest Wonder. I'm just going to read the best part of the article. The Indian journals supply particulars of a new invention whose reality is at least doubtful. The teleport, says a Bombay paper, is an apparatus by which man can be reduced into infinitesimal atoms, transmitted through a wire, and reproduced safe and sound at the other end. The apparatus consists of a powerful battery, a large metal disc, a bell-shaped glass house, and a large iron funnel connected with the wire. An experiment, or an alleged experiment, is described as follows. A dog was placed on the metal disc, and a powerful current was applied to it. After a while, the animal disappeared and was found at the other end of the wire contentedly gnawing a bone, just as it was doing before it was transported. Afterwards, a boy was experimented upon. Under the glass house, it is reported, the inventor of the machine placed a Goanese boy, Pedro, who was grinning as if he thought it a good joke. And we suspect it was not the first time he had been in that part of the house. The current was again applied to the underpart of the discs, and the same effect was observed as with the dog. The house was instantly filled with a vaporous man whose features and parts were distinct until they disappeared. Even the grin was discernible as a mere film of vapor. In fact, it seemed to us that the grin remained even after the boy had disappeared. In 15 seconds, Pedro was gone, but they found him also at the end of the wire. It was then attempted to send the boy and the dog along the wire at once, but by an unfortunate accident, the infinitesimal atoms of the boy and those of the dog got mixed in transit, and the result was that they both looked dreadfully unnatural creatures. I was gobsmacked when I found this article. I was going to explain that the most notable first use of the words teleport and teleportation was by Charles Fort in his book, The Book of the Damned, in 1931. Even Merriam-Webster thought that was the first use of the words. Little do we know of the inventions of Indian scientists in Victorian India. A shame this teleportation device did not make it through the British rule of India. I find myself haunted by poor Pedro's vaporized grin. Even more so, were this discovery and its horrible consequences more widely known, Seth Brundle could have been warned. You may read the text of this on my blog at bhaidin.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Well, there you have it. Hindu scientists of the Victorian age. Who knew? I certainly didn't. Dean does, because Dean knows everything. That's right. Hey, don't forget, leave a comment in the comment box in the live chat right about now if you want to shout out, because it is time for Camping Tips for Stupids. That's right. The Gone Camping channel. Gone Camping channel with your host there, Jevin Moore. Don't forget to check out Huck Outdoors and the Pharaoh channels as well. If you like that hiking stuff, boy, those guys are on it. Product reviews, all kind of good stuff. So check them out. Now, our Camping Tips for Stupid, brought to you by Gone Camping.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 51. Cold air sucks. No more happy naked camping time for you, you flabby. Time to layer up and dress it up for Mother Nature's cold shoulder. Camping in the fall and early pre-snow season can be a tricky dicky when it comes to clothes. Oftentimes you find that the morning is as cold as the Arctic Circle, where you're trying hard to light the campfire with your frozen balls clacking together like carved ivory pool billiards. Then by 1 p.m., it's too damn warm for coats at all, and you're standing in the warm sun having a mind fuck about how cold the morning was. Well, don't think about it. It's Mother Nature, and she's mood swinging her ass off. So just stay out of her way till she settles down in about 2 to 3 months. Dressing up in layer after layer of clothing will help you fine-tune the right comfort level for the changing temperatures throughout the day. Long-sleeve cotton shirts under quilted shirt jackets under a good rugged coat is usually the simplest way to layer. And no, skin diving suits, S&M rubber suits, and furry costumes don't count as layers. Sorry, Jeff. If you didn't pack enough layers for all your fall camping trips, just go the Bear Grylls route and squeeze into a dead seal skin. Bam! Nature's slim wear. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
God bless you, Jevin. God bless you, because nobody else certainly will. We are so glad to have you as part of the channel. That's right. Furry costumes are not counted as layers. So glad to have all of you guys out there. I'm here. You're there. That makes this whole thing awesome. So let's see who is out there in the live chat room tonight. Hey, look, there is Oreo Cream Rocks. That's the first one I see tonight. And yes, it does. Again, I'm going to have to do something about that cold every single week at the same time. Again, how you doing, man? Gone camping. That's right. Jevin Moore's hanging out there with us, as well as James the Grower. That's right. Bigfoot, Eldorado Bigfoot Watch official member number 4. That's right. Huck Outdoors. That's Jason's out there hanging out there. Don't forget to go to the Huck Outdoors channel, hit subscribe, the little bell number notification. Get your weekly dose of hiking that none of us can do. Anyhow, let's see. Always an adventure. Luna. That's right. She's out there as well. How you doing? That chick can keep up with the dudes. Like, seriously. Like, I'm impressed. I really, really am. I wish I could do that. Cheryl Wellens in the house as well as Sam Squanch Rivera. Natalie Smith, I'm doing just great. How are you doing tonight there, sweetheart? Rodney Dupree, that's right. He is the official Bigfoot member number 3. I'm so glad he's out there with us as well as Timothy McCune, Mr. Fang, 33, Kurt, Harris. Jonathan Dowdy, how you doing, man? Glad you're out there with us tonight. Hope you're feeling good. Mr. Dean Cooper, the quasi-theorist. That's right. There's B. Mac. How you doing, champ? There's Keith Harden. He's out there as Captain Caveman. Brown Dwarf's out there as well tonight. Man, there's a bunch of people hanging out, and I love it. I know there's more than that, so we're going to keep on scrolling up here. Starshine. That's right. She's out there swinging her tool around. So glad to have her, making sure you people stay in line while I'm doing the show. That's what it's all about. I know that there's more people up here. Call your Reno Wilmus. That's right. The co-host Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. Now for what you're watching, in case you missed it, that's where we're at. Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, specifically at Pacific. That's right. Kurt Harris is the co-host of Vinyl Power with me. We're over there on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, specifically at 5 p.m. That's right. That's 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Vinyl Power is growing. It's a lot of fun. I got so much new vinyl in the house, it ain't even funny. Let's see here. Klutzy Chris 84. But yes, I am rocking the Bigfoot look. If you don't know that about me, then you don't know Riv. Let's see here. Who else is out there? Red Rat, how you doing? Your wife just farted in her hand and threw it in my face. Gotta love that kind of woman. That's my kind of woman, dude. You got a good one. You need to keep that one. I mean, straight up. What was that? I don't know, but I'm glad you're here. I know there's more people than that in there. Caesar Prime System. I don't speak the language, but I'm glad you're here with thumbs up. I love Brazil too, especially Brazilian women. Yeah, I said it. What are you going to do about it? Absolutely nothing but agree. Let's see here. I know there's more people in this. Squatch Box. I'm sure she's hanging out there with Christopher. Potatoes really are a vegetable. I'm not lying to you. If I didn't say Sharon Wellen, I probably did now. I know I mentioned the dwarf. Let's see here. There was a bunch of people up here earlier. I don't want to miss you guys, but it only lets me go back so far. So if I do miss out on you, I'm sorry. I told you to leave an extra comment after the camping tips for stupids so that I can say hi to you guys. I think that's where we're at. Candy Apple and John Briers. Timothy McCune, if I didn't say hi earlier, I have now. I'm sure. Hopefully Gary and Whitney White will come back to watching the show. Don't know what happened, man, but, feel better about it. Message me if you feel like it, whatever. Let's see. That's it. If you haven't heard your name yet, then I haven't seen your name in the chat, and I don't know you're here, so it's kind of hard to say hi to you. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific. That's right. That's when we are here live, and tonight we are talking about Park County, Colorado. Now, Colorado's really one of the highest areas with Bigfoot reports in the country, so you'd figure that there would be a lot of them out there. So let's see what Park County has in store for us tonight. There's a Pittsburgh McConnell. Is that who I missed? That's a long name. I was born in Johnstown, so Pittsburgh wasn't that far away. Yeah, Pittsburgh McConnell. How you doing there, Chief? Glad I got you before I went back to the show. All right, Jay Gerd. I didn't say hi to you. I have now because that's how all that goes down. Okay, let's take a look at where we're looking at tonight. We are talking about, that's right, the Park County, Colorado. Now, that's just below Vail and all those skiing areas. This is the lowlands. down out of that area, and it'll be interesting to see what time of the year these reports come from, to see whether they're during the winter months when the animals would come down out of the snow or not. We've got Mount Evans, Mount Lincoln, Mount Harbor, Mount Antero. There's a whole bunch of mountain peaks right along the borders of this particular county. So let's see what they've had in the past. All right, going to go all the way back to 1972, springtime, April. That would be before the snowmelt, most likely. Lost Creek Wilderness area. A creature was near a pond, initially bent over. He caught sight of us after about 45 seconds of us observing him, about 45-degree angle, looking down and back about 150 feet. At first, we thought it was a bear, but when he stood up erect and looked at us, we knew it was not a bear. There weren't no bear. I don't think I've ever felt fear like that day. It's been 28 years, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was a student at the University of Denver at the time, and we told everyone at school about the incident. The next 2 weekends, we took several photographers up to Lost Creek and walked all over the area, but found nothing. My girlfriend at the time was with me, and a few years ago, I saw Unsolved Mysteries, and they did a segment on the Bigfoot sightings right at the Lost Creek areas. So check that out, Lost Creek, there in Colorado. All right. In the year 2000, back when Conan was good. While standing on the deck of a vacation home, man hears an eerie human-like calls. The year was 2000, September, fall time, again, before the snow, 1 mile north of 11 Mile Reservoir on Park County Road 92. I was standing on the front deck of my girlfriend's summer home, looking down the 11 Mile Reservoir when I heard the sound of the animal calling. It was almost human in nature, but unlike any sound I've ever heard in my life. It was spine-tingling. I cannot describe it. It lasted about 3 or 4 minutes. It sounded lost or was looking for an offspring. I'm 65, and I've spent a lot of time hiking and camping over the years and have never heard a sound even close to the one that I heard that fall. Wow, creepy. I mean, when you really hear it, it's something you can't mistake. It really does. I don't know if it's fear, but it's something primal. Again, in the year 2000, UK gypsies. Woohoo! What's a UK gypsy? I'm kind of excited about that. They vacate a Colorado campsite after an encounter with a 7-foot creature. Let's see here. My aunt and her husband are both Romani gypsies living here in the UK. But once a year, travel to Fairplay, Colorado to visit extended family. Descendants of family that used to mine the area. They were staying in a log cabin with one of the family members and had spent the first few days on their trip walking the outlying forestry and going to old mining sites and other places of interest. On the 4th day, they decided to spend an evening out with a barbecue and invited over a few friends from a traveling show that they know from Iowa. At dusk, my aunt said that 2 of the travelers returned to the barbecue after hiking up a small valley about 5 miles. Both were visibly shaken and upset. They told everyone that they had been followed by something at a distance of 30 feet or so the past few hours. It smelled similar to old, damp caravan interiors. And he should have, And when Jay had shouted towards the creature, it seemed to back off slightly before violently shaking foliage. This is when they both panicked, as they could see the fur of the creature and thought it could have been a bear. My aunt requested that everyone leave just in case the bear had followed them back to camp. but due to inebriation, most of the group were laughing and didn't take the story too seriously. At about 10 p.m., a fire was lit, and some of the travelers started juggling fire sticks or playing their instruments. My aunt thinks that may have been a lure, as over the festivities they heard a very loud, very high-pitched scream just off the small clearing. The more drunken members of the group started walking and shouting towards where the vocalization had emitted. He later stated that he was trying to communicate, but a few of the people at close range saw what was described as a very tall, very powerful, ape-like creature moving at first into the clearing and then away from the camp at great speed. It had long beige hair. He had such beautiful long blonde hair, approximately 6 inches long, and a dark area around the face and elbows. Now, it's dark. It's after 10. There's a fire, and they're away from the light. Damn pikeys. Everyone left the scene quickly and in a panic. It's a very expensive juggling batons were left behind as well. No one wanted to return the next day to the site, and one of our relatives waited a week before going to look for the lost property. Unfortunately, new fires had been lit, suggesting that campers had been in the vicinity since, and no belongings or tracks could be found. Damn pikeys, you can't trust them for nothing. I don't know, man. I like that one. Okay. Collaboration of multiple witnesses in winter nighttime road crossing near Kenosha Pass. We were going to go out to Wimbledon, but we felt Kenosha was safer. 2002 in the wintertime, December. The south on 285 coming down the backside of Kenosha Pass, headed towards Jefferson. While headed back to Denver from Buena Vista, my wife and I saw something very large pass in front of another car. The car was in front of us by about 25 feet. The weather was not good as it was snowing and dark out. I was driving about 12 to 15 miles per hour. A person getting out of the car in front of us. This struck me as odd considering the weather at the time, not to mention the location. We were in a 4x4 pickup, and I guessed that this thing had to have been 7 to 8 feet tall. Very dark body with a large head, huge hands. It crossed the highway in a smooth, fluid motion, paying no mind to the vehicle coming in the other direction. It crossed the road in near 3 or 4 strides, then disappeared to the west side of the road. My wife and I remained speechless. Speechless, he says, for a couple of minutes. I don't know. I've never met a woman to be speechless for a couple of minutes. Seconds, maybe. And then I asked her what she thought she saw. She said, it looked like a Bigfoot. And I agreed. Sorry, ladies. I'm just teasing. I really am. I don't, you know, if I pick on you, I like you. Isn't that the way it goes? You know, he only pulls your hair because he likes you. That was me. Sorry. Hey. Oh, horrible. Spring, May 29th. Bailey, 285. The resort manager and her friend were just completing the evening hike when they saw a grayish animal running past them at the speed so fast that they couldn't imagine what it could be. It was standing upright while running, and it was huge. I asked them to estimate its height, but I didn't know other than to say that it was a lot taller than them. Probably at least 7 feet tall. They described it as human-looking. I'll encourage them to post the details themselves in the morning. Well, apparently, they never did. And that was the story that we got. And one more to wrap it all up nice and tight here. Hunter experiences nighttime rock throwing and possible vocalizations while camping near Hartselle. Nearest town is going to be Hartselle Fall, October 2014. Just a couple of short seasons ago, I was hunting alone. I was having a hard time going to sleep, so I was just laying in my bag at about 10:30 p.m. Initially, I heard what sounded like something clearing its throat, but it was a very deep sound. It was like nothing I had ever heard. 20 minutes later, I heard what sounded like a rock land close to my tent. And a few seconds later, I heard another one land with a thud. Neither sounded as if they rolled, as the ground was damp from snowmelt. Just after 11 p.m., I heard something come from the tree line behind me. Woo, woo, from two separate locations, as if there were several, and they were talking to each other. Once the sun came up, enough for me to see, I broke camp and left. I didn't look around for signs. Bit unnerved by the whole thing. Previously, 2 nights before, the coyotes and cows were all over this area, walking within 30 feet of the tent all night. I had noticed on my way back to camp that night that the cows and all the coyotes were gone. Wham, 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 wham. You know, that happens a lot. I mean, well, I don't know. It happens a lot. We hear that story quite a bit, where people are solo camping or camping with a friend. Hunters are out, looking for their to fill their tags, and something throws big rocks at them, big enough to hear them hit from inside your tent and go, what the hell was that? And then, somebody like Jim, who has the big hand, go in front of the top of the tent, well, then you know exactly what it was. And those, my friends, are the official Bigfoot reports from Park County, Colorado. That's right. We always wrap things up here with a Bigfoot campfire story, and I like to thank everybody for being out there. I'm so glad you're here. Join us tomorrow at Thursday. That's right, at 5 p.m. Pacific. Don Wright showed up a little late. Didn't want to miss a mention to that guy. How you doing there, pal? He's been a fan of the show for a very, very long time. I'm glad to see you got to catch one, at least live, partially through. And that, my friends, will do it for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast, because it is the 50th anniversary of the Patterson Gimlin footage. I'll leave you guys tonight with the story of two cowboys see a Bigfoot in Bluff Creek. And with that, thank you so much for being here. See you next week. May the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. These stories are based upon true events. Welcome to another Bigfoot campfire story. As you may know, from time to time, I dig out a classic that just begs for its own telling. And well, this one is way past due. Roger and Bob set out from Yakima, Washington on a week-long quest to investigate Bigfoot tracks and sightings around Bluff Creek, California. This is their story. Well, I'd gotten a call from the guys down in California. The Bigfoot have been moving through the area of Bluff Creek for a few years now, and I've been determined to capture one on film. I've been hunting these things for a long time now. I even wrote a book about it, and of the telling of the stories and tales from British Columbia and Washington State. We never really thought a place like Bluff Creek would even hold the critters until 1958. A fellow by the name of Gerald Crew found a Bigfoot track and cast it near a bridge. In fact, that's where the name Bigfoot actually comes from, during the logging construction of a bridge in that same area. Since then, the tracks and sightings have flooded in from the area, and I decided it was time to get this creature on film once and for all. So I started making arrangements to look into that matter once again. I called my good friend Bob up and asked if I could borrow him and some horses for a week search into Bluff Creek, California. Well, Bob wasn't too keen on the idea at first, but after some convincing, he at least agreed to come along and bring us horses so we could get around. Well, I'd recently received another call telling me that they had found 3 different sets of tracks near the same area, and it was there that we were set off to investigate. I brought with me a rented filming camera just like they use for TV and 2 100-foot rolls of film. We had finally gotten down into the area and we camped at a place called Happy Camp. We had searched the area, seeing if we could find any tracks. Sadly, by the time we arrived, the rain had all but wiped out the tracks. So we spent a couple of days on horseback searching the area and decided on the third day to move camp a bit closer to Bluff Creek itself. The logging roads had the area quite easy to get around, sort of. There were large tracts of road from one area to another, but after that, it got pretty wild again. We located a camp near Louse Camp, and we had to stage it up because Louse was full of logging crews at the time, but we were off the main logging road going in. By the time we had camp all set up, it was late in the day, so Bob and I took a short ride around the area, then went back to camp to make dinner and sleep off. Cool chill of the rain. Being October, the night chill got into the 40s, so we kept the fire burning all night. Well, the next morning I awoke to an empty camp. Bob had already set off for a ride, and it was nearly 10 a.m. when Bob returned, and I asked him which area he'd covered for his morning ride. Well, I decided that we'd like to recheck that area that we had saw the evening before, so I grabbed the camera and checked the film. The area was so beautiful, I had already burned through 76 feet of film, just taking film of the surrounding area shots and the forest of Bob and I. Hopefully it'll make the movie someday. Well, I loaded up the saddlebags and I mounted my horse and off we went to explore the watershed. We had come down off of the ridge where the old road had been, and we hit a log jam. That's when the horses began to act all weird. This was definitely abnormal. That was when we first caught the glimpse of the creature. It was crouched by that log jam, and it rose up. When it did, my horse kicked and rose up on its front legs and threw me back off the ground. I quickly got up and grabbed my film camera and began to run after the creature. There it was in the viewfinder. It was all covered in hair about 60 yards from me, quickly getting away, so I had to get closer. Well, I ran across the shallow creek and I up a little bit of a area and I braced myself up against a tree, got the creature back into the viewfinder. I'm no photographer and I had no idea if this thing was in focus, but it was running and definitely filming. Well, just as I got it really in focus, Bob crossed the creek on horseback, and that's when the creature looked right back at the camera. It's so hard to see through the viewfinder. I can't really see the creature itself without it. Well, Bob was much closer, and the creature turned and quickly started to walk upstream. And that's when the film ran completely out. Click, click, click went the film roll in the device. Well, Bob started off to follow the creature upstream, but there I was with no horse, no rifle. So I yelled for him to come back and wait till I could get my horse back at least. Finally, I got the horses straight. The film roll changed. By then, the creature was long gone. Bob and I had taken the footage of the tracks the creature had left. The sandbar was a result of the flood in 1964 and had made the perfect substructure to hold the tracks of this amazing beast. Was it some sort of people? Some kind of pre-human? Was it a monkey man? I have no idea, but we have to document everything or people won't believe us at all. Well, Bob and I spent the better part of another week meeting people in the area to show them what happened. We called my friend Al, and he got in touch with a man by the name of John Green, who brought a friend named Renee and another fella named Jim to help out. Well, this crew was great, and we cast some the tracks. We searched the area for days, and a fellow by the name of Bob T. He had come by with more casting stuff and searched the area very thoroughly. So much so he even found where the creature had walked up an impossible hill and sat down to watch what we were doing at the site after she had gotten away from us. Well, finally, after no more sightings or activity, we gathered up all the evidence that we had. We had to head back to Washington. I had sent the film out for developing, and they called me down to view it for the first time. There, for the very first time, I got a good look at the creature I filmed in Bluff Creek that day. I didn't get the creature at the log pile like I expected, but I did manage to get several good seconds of it as it walked the sandbar and looked back at the camera. It was nearly perfect. No doubt about it, this had to be a Bigfoot. This was no person at all. I had to make me 2 copies of it right away, as I knew this would change the world's look at mankind. It took several days, but finally I had the film in hand. I put a presentation together the best I knew how, and I showed it to the scientific world of my findings. Most of them wouldn't even look, and those that did just laughed and called it a hoax. As if I had some time to play games and make stuff up. This was the discovery of a lifetime, and no one believes it's real. Finally, we took our tour on the road. Bob was not really into the roadshow game, so he stayed behind, but I tried city after city and state after state. And although many people talked about it, and it even getting on the news, without some blood or some body part, there was no way to prove what we filmed. Finally, with my health declining, I brought everything back home once again. Our friend Renee had taken the film overseas and shown it to the British and Russian scientists, but only the Russians would even consider the idea of such a creature. And with the fanfare went away, well, to this day, people still talk about the Bigfoot of Bluff Creek. Sadly, Roger died not too long after that part of the story ended. His wife Patricia holds the rights to the film, and for the right amount of money, she'll let you put it in your Bigfoot video too. We still argue if Patty, the Bigfoot film that day, is a real or it's a hoax, and no one can still prove it either way, even with all of the technology updates in place. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.